Hey, Jason here again. So, today I'm doing a review on the Rolling Fox Tarp. It is a fantastic tarp to use as a makeshift shelter tarp, use as a hammock tarp, or if you just as a sun tarp, as a ground tarp. I mean, there's lots of uses when you have this type of a tarp. And right now it sells on Amazon for $36. So again, I purchased this one just last month, and still $36 right now. And then I purchased the same tarp, this one here, which I've condensed it, wrapped it up all a lot tighter, and put some different Guyline cord and my preferred stakes. So that's all in here in this mesh bag that I have it in. I bought this a little over a year ago, and I've used it probably 7 or 8 times, and I've carried it with me on not only quite a few backpacking trips, but also a couple of long day hiking trips and some car camping trips. So it's been used quite a few times. I've gotten good at setting it up in different ways, specific ways to my use, to my needs, and I love it. Right out of the box, it comes in this bag with its stuff all by itself. It's a little bit bigger than an Nalgene bottle. It's almost the size of a 2-liter. Again, it's kind of in its bag fairly loosely, and it comes with four stakes. I'm going to go ahead and sit a little more comfortable here. So, yeah, it's about the size. It comes with 4 stakes and 4 guy lines with the Guyline adjusters for staking it down and cinching it tight. So again, bigger than an Nalgene, probably close to the size of a 2-liter. But when I rolled it up my way with the stakes there in the center, in a bag in the center, and all the guy lines, I have 6 guy lines and 6 stakes, and I replaced with the groundhog style Y stakes. It's pretty much the same size as the Nalgene bottle, and out of the box, it weighs, with all that it has, it weighs 22 ounces right out of the box. With what I did to it, I knocked off a whopping 2 ounces. But again, I added 2 more guy lines and 2 more stakes, and also some extra 2 mm reflective cord for helping set it up. So more with it, but 2 ounces less. So that's it for the Nalgene. Don't need that anymore. I have actually opened it up already, but then just quickly stuffed it back in the bag, realizing I wanted to do this review. So this isn't a true unboxing, but it's true in the fact that I haven't actually used this one or set it up. I unrolled it and looked at it, and then rolled it back up and put it back in the bag. So it wasn't rolled up or folded exactly the way it was for factory, but pretty close. And I made sure it was loose so that it would fill up most of that bag, so you'd get the true estimate of what its size was when you pulled it out of whatever Amazon box that it came in. So inside the tarp, you have in another small little carry bag, kind of like sort of the stake bag. It comes with these 4 shepherd hook style stakes, just generic basic stakes. Some people still like to use those. Some of us prefer to use the more high-tech or different style stakes for with different needs for the stakes. And then here's all the Guyline cords here. So yeah, there's 4 of them here to go with the 4 stakes. And this is not paracord by any means. This is just a typical nylon cord. And it comes with this bag, drawstring bag. Now, the key thing about this tarp that was really a seller for me was the fact that in almost identical style, each and every single one of these tabs is a nylon loop tab, and it's got this triangular stitching, triangular pattern stitching for reinforcement for the tabs. And then on the tabs there's the box with the X going through it. So the stitching is all, you know, well done, very nice quality, and the product, the tarp itself, seems has definitely, as I've already used this one on many occasions, it does its job. It does an excellent job in some nasty downpours. I've had it out with Hurricane Matthew last October. I was out camping kind of at the outer edge of when it blew through up the coast. It was supposed to really curve out back up to the ocean, and it didn't. If anybody remembers, it stayed and marched right up along the coastline. So where I was camping in Virginia was supposed to be well out of the way of it, but it ended up, because of the actual path of the hurricane, we did get some nasty weather from the outer bands of the hurricane. So this sucker survived, 60, 70 mile an hour winds, strong winds and some hard rain. There was even just a little bit of hail for a while, and it held up just fine. It did great, no damage to it whatsoever. I was very impressed with how well it did. So on 4, it is a diamond shaped tarp. It's not square, it's not rectangular, it is diamond shaped. So on their website they have the exact measurements, but it's roughly a little over 11 feet from furthest corner to furthest corner diagonally, and then roughly right about 9 feet going the other way, from corner to corner diagonally, as if you were setting it up over a hammock. You'd have a little over 11 feet going the length of your hammock, and then you'd have right about 9 feet going the other way that then drapes over as you would setting it up for a hammock. On the one that I got more than 12 months ago, the 4 corners have these rings, these metal rings. I believe they're just aluminum, but these metal rings inside the nylon straps, loop tabs. So these metal rings are in the main 4 corners that you would ideally be connecting up for your hammock setup, or for being able to stick the end of a trekking pole into this without it touching the tent or the tarp, or possibly damaging the nylon loop tabs. So you have these nice little rings. On mine, they're my older one, it's a D shape, whereas this newer one that I just recently bought about a month ago, they're a complete circle. They're a complete ring, circular ring. Whereas the older one had a D shaped ring. Not really much of a difference. They're kind of nice, especially for the idea of being able to clip, connect, set it up using clips to it. It's a little easier to clip something onto this than try to get that clip through the nylon loops. And it's also nice for the trekking poles to have that. So that's nice, and it really doesn't add much weight. Again, 22 ounces with my setup with it, it ended up being 20 ounces. So a little over a pound. It's not bad at all. Very lightweight, almost right there on the breaking point of being deemed as ultralight. when it comes to the weight of a tarp, of this kind of a tarp. And there's, so the stitching, diamond, or not diamond, triangular, reinforced, and there's 16 of these suckers all the way around this thing. 16. So I know that definitely, that's, you know, that's where that extra little bit of weight, if you only had 8 of these, I guarantee you this thing would be right at or just underneath the pound. But you have 16, which really brings a lot of versatility into how many different ways you can set it up. So I love that about it. I love that about it. The only thing that was arguably a bit of a downside about the tarp itself was the color. They're only spitting it out in one color right now. Is this kind of creamy off-white color, which, you know, for us people, you know, using it all the time in the outdoors, in nasty weather and rough areas, in the backcountry or whatnot, the white is going to get dirty. We know it's going to get dirty, and it's not fun trying to clean it when we get home. And we know that it's not going to get, even as much as we scrub or whatever chemicals we try to use or don't use on it, we're not going to get it completely back to that solid white that it was. You're going to end up with some spots, some slight discolorations here and there. And the whole tarp actually ends up getting a little creamier in color after, you know, multiple rains on it. From whatever acids and stuff that's in the rainwater. So, with that in mind, a lot of us kind of would feel, and my first impression was, and I really don't care for it being white. But I will say this: the first handful of times that I was using it as kind of like an awning extension from my backpacking tent. Because my backpacking tent, the vestibule part of it is not that huge. Most of them aren't all that big at all. And so it's really nice to have something that gives you a whole lot more space for you or, you know, your other hikers, backpackers, to be able to hunker down underneath of it and stay dry and comfortable. So when I was setting it up like that, and I had this tiny little light clip light that I use as a tent light, tiny little thing, only spits out about 60 to 70 lumens worth of light. With it being underneath this tarp and the light reflecting back up against this tarp, that 60 to 70 lumens went to at least 100. I swear, at least 100. It was the increase in brightness was tremendous, unbelievable. I was so surprised how much of a difference it made, because most of my gear, I've always preferred my things to be, you know, in a slightly darker color, except for maybe my Guylines, which I do like to have thin, lightweight, reflective, bright colored Guylines on all my stuff, whether it's tents, hammocks, whatever, tarps. So yeah, I was very impressed with how much brighter my space was underneath this tarp, with the fact that with it being a white tarp, because I had never had that experience with having a bright colored tarp, with the light beaming off of it like that, and it being in the difference that it makes in the brightness, level of brightness. So I'm going to throw some links in the comments area as soon as I post this, about this 1.8 mm cord, reflective cord, also purchased off of Amazon. I'm a big fan of Amazon, if you haven't noticed already. Very lightweight, very strong. It's not quite a 250 cord strength, paracord strength, but it is made the same way. It's got the inner strands in the middle of it, so I guess it would be, you know, more like a 200 instead of a 250 paracord weight cord in strength. So yeah, I love this stuff. This is a bright green, which I'm surprised because they have a yellow, and I don't know how the yellow would be any more yellow than this bright green. So, but that's what I've used and that's what I've got, and I love that stuff. So I'll include a link to that, and I'll include a link to the Rolling Fox website. They have their own website where they've got a diagram of like 25 different ways of setting up this tarp for shelter use. So yeah, 25 different ways they've got that posted. So I'll provide that link to their website where that's at, so that you can take a look at that as well. Once again, I gotta say these are wonderful tarps. Rolling Fox did a really good job for being at a price of less than $40, and this size of tarp at 20 to 22 ounces, just over a pound like that. This is an excellent tarp for backpacking and hiking, and to have as a spare tarp when you're camping of any sorts. Or just, would like to have something like this for preparedness, in the car or at home. Excellent tarp. Gotta love that there's 16 tie-out points. 16 tie-out points is amazing. And for the amount of weight that it still is to have all those tie-out points. Obviously, there's a lot of versatility in all the ways you can set this up. These are just, two common ones that are used a lot by us backpackers and hikers and campers. So I hope that this review was very thorough and helpful, and that I convinced some of y'all to save your money from buying some of the other and very expensive tarps of very similar quality and size and weight. Can't spend your money on just one thing every time. Sometimes those of us, we gotta spread out the dollars between all of our gear. So if you're looking for cutting some cost and still getting some good quality stuff, again, just about every video that I do on something is good, fairly good quality but low cost gear that works and is pretty efficient and approved by me. Not that has that much weight to it, but no, excellent tarp, excellent product. Along with most of the stuff, just about everything that I use and do reviews on it. I wouldn't be doing a review if I wasn't convinced myself that it was a good product, and would recommend it myself. So take care.